Good morning, everyone. This is T. Falcon Napier. Welcome to Building a Career That Matters. Today's topic, roadblock number 15, trouble with tools of the trade. And the key question we're trying to answer here is, am I equipped to succeed? Now, this is a question we explored in our current research project. So we've now had some 232 independent human development professionals participate in the research. Among the questions they're asked, is this one about being equipped to succeed? Do they have all of the tools that are necessary to operate their business and deliver their services, etc.? And so we ask people to rate themselves across 4 dimensions for that, and you see the results on the screen now. Now, for those of you who haven't gone through your ChangeWorks training yet, you might go like, oh my gosh, what an eyeful this is. But I promise you, this is a very simple, straightforward thing to learn. You just have to go through the training to know what it is you're really looking at. Now, each of these circles represents 1 or more respondents. If you see the number 5 inside of it, well, 5 people plotted there, 9 people plotted here, and 8 there. And so these numbers represent the number of respondents in the research project who gave their ratings at. So we asked people to rate themselves across these 4 dimensions. The 4 dimensions are size, ability, challenge, and importance. And you see these two symbols here. You see a triangle and you see a diamond. Well, the triangle represents the average location for people plotting on the change grid for this activity, and the diamond represents the ideal location. And so rather than concerning yourself with this huge scatter pattern, just look at the current rating and the desired rating. So right now, on average, the people in the research have said their ability to assemble and manage all the resources necessary to operate their businesses a little bit better than 8. And the challenge is a little bit more than a 6. Well, we want people to rate their ability as a nice solid 10, and we want you to see that there is a bit more challenge to it than people are letting on. In fact, let's break this down a little bit, and you'll see where my concerns are. Right now, when it comes to, again, assembling and managing all those different sorts of resources, we've got, let's add that up there, about 42% of the respondents. 42% of the respondents are plotting down in power apathy or apathy about this. Good things do not happen in power apathy and apathy when it comes to growing a business. And so there's a lot of people here that I think are grossly either A, overestimating their ability to do what this task involves, or B, they are underestimating the challenge that's involved in doing it really, really well. So hopefully today is going to open your eyes nice and widely to your current status when it comes to these tools of the trade. So we do want people to be in power. We do have about 43% of the population is plotting in a as far as the level of tension is concerned, quite well. But we've got some real issues. We've got to do something to close this gap, and it's all about boosting your awareness and raising the bar a little bit. Right now, people are carrying themselves as amiable drivers around this. So they want it to move forward, but they want it to all be very friendly and all that. This is about a calculated decision. So you're talking about assembling together all the tools necessary to build your business and maintaining those tools so they serve you well. This requires you to have a strong driver energy ruling your thoughts and behaviors, but you have to have that analytical element there as well, because this is about figuring something out and keeping track of what's going on. So we need to have that analytical element there as well. Now, the last little screen I'll show you for the research is about engagement. We want people to be fully engaged. So here again, you see that the diamond pattern here. We want people to be in this engagement ring. Well, right now, when it comes to the engagement, we're looking at mid-grid engagement right now. We got 26 people, 26 out of 232. That's only 11% of the population is really plotting where we would love them to be. But truth be told, I'm happy as long as they're in this engagement band someplace. So now if you add those 3 engagement elements together, now we end up with, let's see, 15, 16, 17, maybe about 17.5%, 18% of the population is where we really want them to be. If we even throw in the execution part, another 12%, we've got about a third of the population overall is in a good spot. But the average individual is plotting here with an intention to do something about these tools of running the business. And we all know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We need to do something to move everyone out of intention and into that engagement layer. And so as we work our way through today's material, I want you to be doing a little inventory about each of these different kinds of materials we're going to be looking at. And then you can really see how much work do you have in front of you when it comes to getting those materials to be assembled and updated and coordinated and everything we'll be talking about. So don't think that this isn't a problem. This is a big problem for the majority of people that are in our line of work. In fact, notice again, where the diamond is. We want people to rate their ability as being a 10. And if you added up these numbers, there's a good chunk of the pie that does. But everyone who rated their ability below a 10 has got something to learn. And we want people to view the challenge high enough that this is on their radar. This is something they're actually putting some energy into. And we've got a lot of people who are plotting too low and a bunch of people too high. So we've got a lot of work to do when it comes to helping people better manage their level of challenge they perceive around the activity. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get into this idea about trouble with tools of the trade. Now, I divide these tools into 9 different categories. There could be more. This is just how my head operates. And so some of the tools are going to be about office equipment. So what's the actual gear you need? Production equipment, if you're going to be producing any kind of program, product, or service, what do you need to have equipment-wise to be able to produce things and produce them nicely? You need tools to market yourself and sell whatever it is that you're trying to sell. You need some products to sell, assuming that that lends itself to the kind of work you want to do. We all have to give presentations of one sort or another, so what about presentation tools? We're getting more and more technology-oriented, so what about the technology tools? And we can't do it all by ourselves, so there's some people tools we want to look at. And finally, we put this category of miscellaneous. It really is the set of people that you're going to need or things you're going to need, but it isn't really core to your business. It's kind of more peripheral to it. It'll make sense as we work our way through that. So let's go ahead and start working our way through these different types of tools. And as we do this, again, I want you guys to take an inventory. I want you to give yourself a grade. In fact, I'd love it if you'd tell me what score you would give yourself when it comes to this particular category. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is office equipment. Now, all of you, whether you have an office in your home or you've got a formal office located somewhere else, you need some equipment. And so what do you really need? Well, a lot of this is pretty obvious, but I want to throw in a few things just for your awareness. Certainly you need a state-of-the-art computer system. This, you would think, isn't a big issue for people, but we have people who are certified to use the ChangeWorks system that are using computers that are 5, 8, 10, 12 years old. Equipment that is that old can't run state-of-the-art software, and so they end up having all kinds of technical problems. And so we ended up making a policy that just said, unless you've got some reasonably state-of-the-art equipment, so if not the current generation, at least have the previous generation, then it's time for you to get a new computer, or we're going to get very frustrated trying to help you sort through a problem when we know that the problem is that your hardware is too old to run the kind of software that we were routinely running. Which gets to this next thing about software itself. Now, most of you are probably using the whole suite of Office products from Microsoft. Well, every time the hardware improves and the operating system improves, the likelihood that your software will continue to work as you had hoped it would, it comes into question. And so often, because we upgrade our hardware or upgrade our operating system, we have to upgrade our software as well. That can become an extremely expensive proposition. So just imagine if you guys wanted to go out today and replace your Office suite. So you want to replace Word and Excel and PowerPoint, whatever else you're using. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe $1,000 or more to get that all done. Well, I don't know if you guys are aware of it or not, but about a year or so ago, Microsoft started to offer their entire suite of Office products on a subscription basis. And so for $99 a year, we get the full suite of Office products. If there's any upgrades, they happen automatically at no additional charge. We just paid $99, and we ended up getting a license to have all of Microsoft's products running on 5 devices in our offices. And you can have 5 computers plus 5 mobile devices. And so if you ever think you need to upgrade your software, don't buy the software. Why not just go ahead and subscribe? Again, not $99 a month, $99 a year is what Microsoft is charging now. Now we use it. It's okay. We've had a couple of technical issues with it where some older fonts that we had really messed up the software. And we had to reinstall a couple of times. We had to talk to the good folks at Microsoft, and they were able to figure out which fonts were causing the problem. So, there's always going to be growing pains, but I'm just saying to all you guys do that. Now, because we do high-level video and audio production and design, we do our website design and all that, we also needed a suite of products from Adobe. And so the Adobe Creative Suite is what we always used. And it got up to CSS6. Now, when you are looking at a single piece of Adobe software, you're definitely looking at $500 or more. And when you look at the full suite of software you may need, it could contain 5, 6, 8 different pieces of that software. And so just to upgrade, we would spend thousands of dollars to upgrade it. Well, Adobe came along and created something called the Creative Cloud. The Creative Cloud is $59 a month, and they give you a real deal for the first year, but ultimately it becomes $59 a month. And for $59 a month, you get access to all of their software. You get access to all of their more in-depth education, so tutorials and all sorts of things to help you figure out how all the software works. If there's any upgrades or changes, it's all automatic, $59 a month. Now, yeah, that's $720 a year. But for $720, I could barely upgrade one piece of the software that would be involved in this. And so, very good to have that Adobe software. Now, while I'm talking about Adobe, I got to tell you, it does you no good to subscribe to the Adobe's Creative Cloud for $59 a month unless you've got hardware that is powerful enough to run that software properly. And so, particularly if you're going to be doing video production requires a tremendous amount of memory, tremendous amount of processing power. Does you no good to spend the money on the software if your system can't run the software. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to throw that out there so you guys kind of knew what was happening. Our phones are ringing like crazy right now. Let me give a comment on this for everyone. It is so fascinating to us how every week we publish the registration links in 3 different places for everything that we do. And then moments before a class or even during the class, we get phone calls from people saying they don't know how to get on the call. And so I don't know how to resolve that, but it's just amazing. Here we are in the midst of the presentation, and our phones are ringing like crazy right now. So I don't know what to do it, but it certainly raised my level of attention. So, okay. Now, of course, you need high-speed internet. We don't need to chat about that. You need a really good modem. You need your telephone. PDAs, I don't even know if those exist anymore because most of our phones now do all the things that that personal digital device would have done beforehand. But things like voicemail, a digital projector. One new thing is a mobile hotspot. So a mobile hotspot is a little device about the size of your cell phone that allows you to get onto the internet from anywhere. So it's basically making a connection from your telephone to whatever the 4G service is or whatever it might be, and that then creates this mobile wireless hotspot. So we actually can have up to 10 people access the internet through this little device. And by the way, they didn't charge us anything for this device. We happen to have AT&T for our cellular service, not because we like them, but just because it just happened to work out that way. But anyway, they gave us this little mobile hotspot device. It's amazing. We can sit on a picnic table out there in the woods someplace, and we can all get online. And it's fast, it's reliable, it's really good. So that mobile hotspot has proven to be vitally useful to us. In fact, just driving, we were driving from Charlotte to Atlanta to do a program for the Organizational Change Alliance a couple weeks ago, and here we are traveling down the road, and I'm on my laptop, and I'm on the internet. So yeah, I get it. We can access the internet from our phone or even from our iPads or whatever. But you know, sometimes you want your laptop. You really want to have that screen space. You want to have a full keyboard. And there I am driving down the road, and I'm on the internet because of that mobile hotspot. So if you guys don't already have one of those things, not a bad gizmo to carry around. Fax machines are becoming less and less important. Scanners and things like that, we're having more and more options around that. But you get it, the office equipment. And so we just want you guys to just stop for a moment. We do this once a year. Stop for a moment and just say, what's really going on my equipment side of things? Is it still serving me well? Is this a year that I'm going to need to upgrade my computer, or I'm going to need to upgrade the software? Because there can be significant expense involved, particularly we're an Apple environment, so nothing comes cheap on the Apple side of things. You might really need to be budgeting for that to be able to bring that up to date. And so office equipment. Now again, our advice was that you guys score yourself as we're working our way through the material today. And so what grade would you give yourself right now as far as office equipment is concerned? Are you giving yourself an A? You're really doing super well. B, pretty good. C, we're getting by. D, we got some trouble. E, we're failing miserably. So or F, we're failing miserably. So go ahead and give yourself a grade so you know where to put yourself into it. At present, we would probably rate ourselves as being A+. We do tend to be very diligent about keeping our office equipment state of the art. And by the way, talking about telephone, we have an office, so it's a full telephone system. We've got 6 phone lines coming in and a huge voicemail system and all kinds of stuff that's involved with that. So, okay, so with that, let's talk about production equipment. Now, production equipment is the equipment that you're going to be using for either producing the products and services that you want to ultimately sell, or you might be using them just as you go about creating things like we do here for the community. And so for us to be able to do the kind of work that we do at the level we like to do it, you need to have some pretty good production equipment. And so we've got digital video and audio recording equipment. We've got big digital cameras. We've got digital still cameras. We've got professional quality microphones. In fact, sitting on my desk right now, I've got this thing called a Yeti. The Yeti probably weighs, my gosh, what does that thing weigh? At least, I don't know, better part of 10 pounds. But it's a huge professional studio microphone. I think that a lot of people who want to do little videos underestimate the value of a good microphone. And instead, they're using the built-in microphone on their laptop. That might be adequate, maybe even perfectly adequate, but please don't put it into the category of professional audio recording. So you need a good headset. You need a good microphone. You need these things if you want to be able to produce the kind of product that has the production values that people would say, this is a serious person. This is someone who's really doing something at that professional level. Obviously, you need that video and audio production software as well. Again, we're in a Mac environment, and so all Apple equipment comes with this thing called GarageBand. And there's some basic sorts of things you can do with iMovie and iTunes for doing a little bit of basic editing. But if you're going to do some serious stuff, you're probably going to need to step up to that Adobe suite to really do the Premiere Pro for the video production, Audition for the audio production, all kinds of special effect things. For example, on the web side of things, if you want interesting interactive buttons, you're going to need to understand how Fireworks works, things like that. Beyond that, you need a teleprompter. I have to tell you that I think that it gets very painful to watch someone's little videos on YouTube when they're just winging it. They think that they're on track. They think that it's okay. It comes across as being amateurish and sloppy. And so you need a teleprompter. Now, a teleprompter might set you back a couple of $100, plus you need to have an iPad or something for the reflectors to work properly, but it allows you to do some very professional looking videos. So none of this glancing over to the screen or checking your notes or staring off in some distance instead of looking at the camera. If you're not familiar with how a teleprompter works, basically the teleprompter is a mirror that's put at a certain angle. It's a two-way mirror, and so the camera is behind it. So you are looking at your camera, but what you're actually seeing is a screen that shows all of your copy scrolling in front of you. You can control how fast it scrolls, but your eyes are totally engaged to the camera lens. And so teleprompters, a great investment for people who want to take that video production part seriously. If you're going to be doing video, video is not about the camera. Video is about lighting. And so you do need to have the right lighting equipment. We do a lot of green screen work, and so we actually have a room in our offices that the walls are painted with the right shade of green for you to be able to do the chroma key work. So you need to have that if you want to superimpose your image on top of some other background image or visual you want everyone to be looking at. And now we also produce our own workbooks, and we can even produce a hardbound textbook in-house. And so we have bookbinding equipment. We've got laminators and trimmers and everything that you could possibly need to produce a high-quality hardbound book, and even down to workbooks with a little spiral bind. We have all that on site here. Now, if you guys aren't going to be doing a lot of different products or a lot of larger runs, maybe it makes more sense for you to just farm it out to someone else to do it for you. But we like to have the creative control over a lot of things, even from the layout side. So we have InDesign software and that. So production equipment. So, let's see, got a comment here from Eugenia. Can we tell you which teleprompter we use? Actually, let me look at it. I don't know that it's got a brand name on it. Let me just roll over here for a second. But we got it on Amazon. We just did a little search for teleprompters. This one is Interact Media. Is where who the manufacturer of it is. So Interact Media. And by the way, it's just this piece of metal that has this two-way mirror in it. It has nothing electronic around it. So it has a little deck where you would put your iPad, and then you can download a free piece of software for your iPad, or you can even do it on a phone. And it allows you to manage this. And so the software part of the whole thing might have cost us $4 to get the control unit, but the device itself, I think, was a couple $100. We didn't need a tripod. We already had the tripod, and the camera attaches to it. So, it's a pretty inexpensive thing to be getting. So that's the teleprompter, and again, we found it on, I think it was Amazon. Yeah, not eBay. Yeah, Amazon. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at the next little category here. Marketing tools. Now, marketing tools, I even ran out of space to list all the ones that were there, but this is where I think it becomes a really important exercise for all of you guys to do. And this is something we do once a year. Once a year, we print out, that's right, print out on paper absolutely everything we use for marketing purposes. And we print them all out so we can lay them all out as a set and see how well coordinated they are. So in there, okay, you got to have your business plan, bunch of brochures. We've got course descriptions, service descriptions, briefings about the different things that we offer. We've got testimonials from people. We've got client lists and fee schedules. We've got different ads that we've created. We've got different banners that we use, templates for our newsletters and our emails. We've got our letterhead. I've got my bio, my curriculum vitae, different articles that we've written, white papers, etc. So anything and everything that you use in the name of a document for marketing your business, this is what we're really talking about. Now, it's interesting that over the course of the years, and again, I get it, we've been around for 3 decades, so we've got file cabinets filled with this kind of stuff. But it's interesting how over the course of time, you end up with this hodgepodge collection of different things that you've done. And so, yeah, you've got your brochures, and yep, you've got your letterhead, and yeah, there's this article that you did. Well, if I put them all in front of you, do they look like they go together? Do they look like they all belong to the same company? Or has it just become this kind of random hodgepodge collection of stuff? Well, obviously, if we're going to be using these tools to present ourselves to the buying public, we want to make sure that these things are all looking together. And later on in today's call, I'll talk about some of the tests you want to subject things to. But we certainly want to make sure that the branding is consistent, our font choice, our colors, whatever it is, we want to make sure that these things look like a coordinated set of materials. I also put the CRM on here, CRM, Customer Relationship Management Software. These tend to be services you might be using. We happen to use Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft might be a little more robust than someone who's running an individual practice may need, but you need something to kind of keep track of. Who are my customers? So maybe you're using Constant Contact. Maybe you're using one of the other services. Maybe you're using something inside of your email program that you're using on your computer. But somewhere you've got to have a place where all of your contacts are collected so you can actually use them in an efficient way. So these are the marketing tools. Now, of all the different categories we're going to talk about, this is the one that people seem to have the greatest problem with. This is the one that seems to be, again, that hodgepodge collection. And this is, to me, the one that's easiest for you to bring up to date. So we'll talk about that again in a second. But how would you rate yourself as far as your marketing tools are concerned? Business plan, brochures, briefings, fee schedules, whatever it is, articles, etc. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you guys are basically saying there's work to be done. Okay, let's look at the next category. Next category, sales tools. The marketing is done. Now, you guys, if you don't remember this from the training you've gone through on MasterStream or on a lifetime of leads, let me remind you of something. We make an extremely strict distinction between what marketing is and what sales is. And we make a strict distinction because we think the confusion that exists in the marketplace and in the minds of human development professionals is causing them a great deal of harm. Marketing involves everything leading up to an inquiry. And the moment you have that inquiry, marketing is over and sales begins. There's a lot of people who believe that good marketing brings you clients. Good marketing does not bring you clients. Good marketing brings you inquiries. Now, those inquiries, if they're handled properly, will become clients. The only exception that I can make to that, and I'll still even argue the point, is if you are doing some marketing towards selling some low-cost item, like maybe a book or something like that, something that's a few $100s that doesn't require the prospective purchaser to want to talk to you first. So they can make all their decisions just based on what they're looking at. Now, some might say, hey, that's marketing and it produced a sale. No, what really happened was that your marketing created an electronic inquiry, and what I mean by that is that it pulled them into your website or it pulled them into whatever that web page is that was describing this, and that web page became the salesperson. That web page did what was necessary to convert the inquiry into a client. So I'm still going to be strict about this. Marketing is about creating awareness about who you are and all that, but we really want that awareness or that branding to bring us an inquiry. If it doesn't bring you inquiries, your marketing doesn't work. And so that's what it's really all about. Are you getting inquiries? So now, after you have those inquiries, you got to do something to convert that inquiry into a client. So what do you need to do this? Well, here's just a few ideas of things you're going to need to have ready to go. Number one, some sort of a needs assessment. Obviously, if you're going to be talking to someone about what's going on with them and what they want to do instead, you are performing a needs assessment. Maybe you're doing it using a very casual, conversational sort of a style. Maybe you're using some very formal needs assessment tools. Either way, it's still going to be the same thing. There has to be some sort of needs assessment process ready to go, so that as you are engaging them in this dialogue, you're figuring out what do they need, how badly they need it, why is it important to them, so that you can figure out what scope of services you're going to need to create. And so a scope of work tends to follow that needs assessment. It's a variation on a proposal. So, and then, which gets to the next one. Do you have a proposal, a formal proposal structure that you use? It says, here's where you're at, here's where you want to go, here's the work that needs to be done, here's what the breakdown is price-wise. You need to have the needs assessment and the proposals as well. Let's see, got a question here. Is there a common needs assessment for training and coaching? Oh, thank you, Denise. That's what the Change Grid was designed for. And so when I first created the Change Grid, I created it because I wanted to have a highly detailed needs assessment tool that would allow me to pinpoint exactly where this person needed coaching or training or consulting or whatever. And so there are a lot of tools out there that are good for doing needs assessments. And obviously I'm going to point you all to the tool that you're already learning. So you might as well use the Change Grid. So the Change Grid to be the one. Thank you for that. All right, obviously you also need a contract. Let's hope that that proposal is a winning proposal, and now the person is going to say, well, I need to sign some sort of a contract. Even if it's something that doesn't merit the detail that a contract would contain, you still want to have some sort of an LOE, a letter of engagement, just even if it's an email that just scopes out what the work is, what's been agreed to, what they can expect. One of the things that we have identified as a huge roadblock for human development professionals is that they don't know how and when to say no. You know, they're happy to have this deal that came to be, and now they end up with clients starting to ask them for favors. Oh, can you do this? And now we feel compelled to start throwing things in. And we throw things in more often for free than for a fee, and now what you're doing is destroying what your hourly rate really translates into. You're really destroying whatever your profit margin might have been. And so I don't care if it's the simplest of the simple coaching agreements. You need to have something in writing that sets some expectations and sets some boundaries so that if someone asks for something that's beyond the scope of the work, you let them know, yep, that could be done, but it's going to involve, whatever else happens to be. Now, sooner or later, you got to bill somebody, so it might be nice to have your invoices or statements if you do some ongoing work with them. It's good to have statements more so than invoices. And, how do you thank people? Are you using actual, handwritten thank you notes? Or are you, sending some automated thing? And I got to say this, while some of these customer relationship management software systems do remarkable things like deploying batteries of emails and all that sort of stuff, I hate it when I get an automated thank you. An automated thank you isn't a thank you. I think it just says, I'm willing to thank you as long as it's convenient for me to thank you. So if I can automate showing you some appreciation, then I'll show you some appreciation. But I just think that kind of undermines the whole point of giving someone a thank you note or giving someone a little bit of appreciation feedback. This should be, even if it's an email, can it at least be a handwritten email? I mean, you wrote it there, right? It's not some formulaic kind of thing. Also, another little category for sales tools are follow-up results. This is particular for those of you who are doing training programs, and at the end of every training program, you have people give those little feedback smile sheet kinds of feedback. Well, you want to capture some of that, put it together as a formal document you can use with testimonials, the results of what you've done, feedback you've received from people, just so you can say, this might help that person to move from thinking about hiring your services to actually hiring you. And so and this is certainly not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the more common things we think people need if they're going to convert that inquiry into a client. So again, let me ask you guys to grade yourself. When it comes to your sales tools, are you doing pretty well, or is there work to be done? How many of you got some work that needs to be done to polish up these materials? Yeah, okay, good. I can see a B+. Yeah, someone get themselves a solid B. Some items, they give themselves an A+, but other items, they say they fail miserably. Yeah, one of you is saying that your current state is deplorable, but coming up. All right, so here you go. All right, let's take a look at the next category. I mean, how many of you are a little surprised to realize that tools of the trade is as complex as it really is? I mean, sometimes people think like, oh, I got a computer, I've got a phone, I've got business cards. In fact, that was the joke long ago. Someone said, what do you need to be a consultant? And the answer was a briefcase and business cards. So, it takes more than that today to do a decent professional job there. Okay, how about products to sell? Now, some of you guys might actually be doing hard print books and things like that. So do you have books to sell? Do you have audio programs that you can be selling, video programs, memberships to your website or to whatever your community may be? There are assessments that you could be selling, not the least of which would be the Change Grid, coaching packages, live programs you're doing. I love branded trinkets. You know, if you're going to be passing out things at any kind of an event, please make sure you take the time to have your logo printed on them, so at least they're, you know, creating some sort of connection point with the person. So what about your products? Now again, your products need to look like they belong to you. And so if we go back to what do your presentation materials look like, what do your marketing materials look like, what do your sales materials look like, the product should also feel like they belong to that same family of things. So they can know, like, oh no, just by looking at it, I know who this is. Okay, so the product to sell. All right, questions about products. Let's see, getting some comments here. It's worth paying someone to do it for you. Yeah, you know, I mean, personally, because I've always had a design mind, I don't like hiring other people to do anything related to design. Invariably, when I see what they do, I'm disappointed with it, particularly on the copy side of things. If you're hiring a copywriter, you guys know we're all about paying attention to tension. Everything's about tension management. In fact, next week, your Building a Career That Matters series now gets totally focused onto marketing, and marketing is all about tension management. And so, you know, I've read things that that professional copywriters have written, and my criticism sounds like this. Well, that's beautifully written if I'm trying to get an A on my term paper. But when it comes to actually influencing someone, this is lousy. The tension management is horrible. And I'll be putting you guys through an exercise in these next few weeks, where I'm going to have you take a piece of your marketing material and I'm going to have you perform a detailed tension analysis of your materials. And I promise you, no matter how good it is, you're going to realize that the tension management has problems. If the tension is not managed properly, you've wasted your money on that piece of marketing material. And so I don't want anyone touching anything that I'm using to represent my business if they don't understand tension management, because I promise you there's going to be a mismatch there. So again, there's a reason why we encourage you guys to learn everything you can about tension management. It's only because it affects everything that you're using at home, work, and play. So you got to know that. And we've watched people spend $10,000 or more having all kinds of copy written, and the copy is just not compelling. So, you know, don't think just because someone fancies themselves as a professional in the design and the side of things that they're really any good at it. Okay, anyway, next thing. Presentation tools. Obviously, this is going to be different depending on what role you're serving. Oop, got a lot of things coming in. Oh, got a comment here from Eugenia. I feel the same way, that my copy and design ability is better than what I've paid for, but I'm learning to compromise. How many years did it take for you to build everything you're talking about today? Interesting point, Eugenia. For us, it's continuous. I'm never happy with anything. I'm always wanting to polish things up, and you know that's what we actively do. I would love to have some extra set of hands that could sit in front of a computer that I could say, here's what the look is, here's the decisions, please go now and apply those treatments to all this pile of documents that I have. Like right now, we want all of our PowerPoint presentations to be brought up another level, and we want all of our workbooks that go along with those presentations to be brought up a deck as well. The thing is that the creative work is done. I know what I want everything to look like, but we're talking about literally thousands of images that have to be edited. So I need someone who's willing to do that tedious work of going through their page after page and making these little changes so everything looks the way I want it to look. Unfortunately, it's difficult to find someone who has the skills to do that, who doesn't also have their own creative ideas. Pardon me. And, you know, if I speak my heart's truth, as harsh as this is going to sound, I'm not interested in other people's ideas. I'm interested in people who will help me execute my ideas. And what I find is that if people have their own ideas, they end up becoming slower at doing the work I want them to do, and they become less accurate in the work that I want them to do. And I get pushback, and so I don't like that. And so at a certain point, you just kind of go like, no, look, Me and Stephen can do it all. If we've got to stay up until midnight to get the work done, then so be it. That's what we're going to do. But I have only been disappointed by the copywriters we've hired over these years, the designers we've hired for graphic design, for the web design. I've been horribly disappointed with web designers. So we just decided long ago, give it up. We're going to do it ourselves, and if we need to learn something to be able to do it, then fine. We've just learned something, and in the long run, that's good too. Okay, off of my little soapbox there for a second. Now, when it comes to presenting services, you guys might think what I'm about to say only applies to people that are doing training programs, but how many of you are going to go and have a trade show booth at some sort of an event, or might go and do a speaking engagement as part of your outreach work to build your coaching practice or your consulting practice? So don't think that just because you're not earning the lion's share of your work from being a trainer, you don't have any need for these items. I promise you, you really do. Let's see, trade training, intention management for services. Yeah, see, Daniel, he's suggesting you could always trade training, intention management for services. How that affects the odds, they'll enhance your ideas. This is not it. To me, if a designer wants to learn about intention management, let them pay me to certify them in intention management, because they're going to take that education that I give them and they're going to use it not only on my projects, but they're going to use it on all their other projects from that point on. And so I'm not interested in bartering with anybody. If they want it, they can pay for it, and if they don't have it, then I'll find someone who does, or you know, whatever the case may be. So no, that's just not the route I would go. That being said, there's a lot of times when bartering for services makes good sense. I just don't think it is on the tension management side of things. Okay, anyway, so presentation tools. What kinds of things do you need? Well, name tags, tent cards, workbooks, facilitators manuals, PowerPoint presentations, the registration materials, so the things people are filling out when they arrive, the diagnostic instruments you might be using. You need to have your introduction pre-written. We've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. If someone's going to introduce you, you want to make sure you control what that introduction contains, because that's setting the expectation in the audience members about who you are and what you're really all about. If you're going to be giving people certificates, what do the certificates look like? So there's all sorts of things that you might be presenting to someone as part of the work that you're doing. You want to make sure you look at these and go like, well, I don't want to use the little hello name tags that I can buy at Staples. Let me go ahead and have my name tag designed, and let me go ahead and print it out on some crack and peel stock on my computer. Now it's got my logo, my brand, you know, everything on there. Maybe I even put their names on it if I know in advance who's going to be coming to it. And so I think you want to just ask yourself, are you taking full advantage of every opportunity you have to get your brand, to get your name, you know, splattered all over the place? So let's do that. Let's have those tent cards. Let's have quick reference guides. Let's have little reminder sheets. Those of you that are coaches, do you even have some sort of like a journal that you give to your people? Don't just say to them, you know, you should journal. You could do that in Word or whatever. Why don't you print up a little journal and actually give someone a physical journal that they could be writing in and using? It's just another opportunity for you to present yourself in a consistent, positive light. Okay, so presentation tools. Let's click through a couple of technology tools. You would think that you don't have to bring this up anymore, but here goes. You need to have your URL. What is your website? And you need to have an email address. And I'm going to say this, I don't want to cause any offense to anybody, but if you tell me that your email address is you@gmail.com or you@yahoo.com, I am not impressed. I think you're just a beginner, and I don't really know that you're someone who is serious enough about your business to really be someone I would give my money to. And so, come on, what day is this? You should have an email address that directly connects to your website. And I don't know of anyone who's out there selling you hosting services for your website that won't say, do you want your email to be hosted here as well? Of course I do. I don't want to see Gmail in a professional's email address. So just, you know, obviously I feel very, very strongly about this. It's like, please, please, please get yourself a real email address. And, you know, it's just, again, enhancing your the image people have of you. So other technology tools. Different audio-visual files. You know, there's going to be audio snippets you might want to put up on your website. There's going to be videos you might want to put up on your website or on YouTube or something. So that's also on the technology side of things. Again, hosting services. You're not hosting your own website. None of you are running your own, your own server with your, T1 lines coming in. You need a hosting company to do that. You also, if you're going to be selling things and using credit cards, you're going to need a shopping cart service. To clear those credit cards, you're going to need to have a banking gateway to have everything done as that automatic transfer. Now we get back to that contact database, the CRM. Are you guys doing webcasts and podcasts like we use GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting? What are you using for your broadcast kind of tool? For our video production and hosting, we use Vimeo. Vimeo, we think, is a lot better than anything we could do on our own because they've got a whole system engineered around the storage and delivery and maintenance of video files. And so, and by the way, that service might cost us, I think it's $120 a year to do that. So, you want to make sure you're using good webcasting, podcasting capabilities. Do you care about web statistics? If you do, are you using any kind of the AdSense, Google metrics? What are you doing there? Teleconferencing services, webinar services, social networking. So, do you guys have a presence for LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever? Now, for us, while we do have some minimal exposure on things like Facebook or whatever, LinkedIn is what our business is all about. Every single person I could ever hope to meet that would ultimately choose to learn what we have to share and become certified, they're already members of LinkedIn. I don't need to get involved in umpteen different social media groups. I need to pour all of my energy into LinkedIn. And so before you guys start getting involved with everything, you just got to ask yourself, where do the people that I'm trying to attract naturally congregate? And choose the one or two services that are going to contain the people that you really are looking for. If you haven't figured it out by now, as great as all the social media stuff can be, it's time consuming. No mistake about it. It takes time to even do the minimal sort of thing there. Someone's saying they've lost the sound. Can you guys hear me fine enough? Hearing me? Yes, it'd be really reassuring, or I can end the call early. No. Yeah, no, it's all good. All right, good, thanks. All right, those are the technology tools. A couple more things real quick. People tools. Depending on the size of your business, you can decide what you really need. But for us, we need a bookkeeper, we need an accountant, we have our own banker, we have a financial planner, we have lawyers, both for regular business things and for intellectual property. We do our own web design. We do our own graphics work, but we don't do our software development. So we do have a really great software development company, Camna, who developed the ChangeWorks system online and all that. Copywriter, I don't want them anymore. Marketing consultant could be useful, but I don't want them doing my stuff. Performance coach, a publicist, office staff. Depending on what you're trying to do, you may need that. For example, if you want to self-publish a book, while you may think you can write it, do not think that you can edit it. And so you need to have a professional editor go through whatever it is that you've written. Obviously, if you're going through a publishing company, that publishing company is going to assign an editor to your project, and that's really where they start to control things. So who knows who these people are, but can you make a list of all the people that you need to have on your extended team for you to have the kind of business that you really want? Eugenia is saying, you don't see Google Plus being tomorrow's LinkedIn. You know, Eugenia, where my head is on this whole thing with Google Plus is that I have already invested a lot in LinkedIn. And unless Google Plus is going to render LinkedIn a dinosaur, I don't know that it's worth the effort of switching over there to Google Plus. And if I'm going to maintain both of them, now there's more time and energy involved in having that presence. And so there's always going to be a better version. Like, for example, we've been using GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar for years now. We have such a great price for that. Are there other services? Absolutely. Am I likely to change? No, because what I have works very well, and these other services that we do come across or people make us aware of don't seem to be offering that much that's that better to justify changing things around. So we don't want to jump around too much. So, Google Plus turns out maybe, but nah, right now LinkedIn still seems to be where the people we're looking for can be found. Okay, so those are people tools. Miscellaneous. These are things like if you're going to be doing a lot of travel, as we do, you do want to make sure you've got good preferred member programs with the right airline and hotel and car rental companies. If you're going to go through all the trouble of affiliating yourself with any kind of a professional group, like many of you might be part of ICF or whatever, you just got to make sure you've chosen the right one and you've decided to do what it takes to be to leverage that and what you really want. Like a chamber membership. To me, it never makes any sense for someone to join the Chamber of Commerce. Being a member of the Chamber of Commerce does nothing for you. If you're going to join the Chamber of Commerce, become a volunteer, become a leader, do something that actually puts you in front of all of these other members. Otherwise, you're just going to get lost in the shuffle, or it's just another little logo you've slapped on your website. Save the money, save the time. If you're going to really get involved, then be involved. But don't just dabble in things. Same thing's true for the associations. Why list all these associations if the truth is you really have done nothing other than pay the money so you can slap the association name on your materials? So that's not what this is really all about. Choose associations, choose groups that are really going to help you to get in front of the kinds of people you need to get in front of, and then do something to participate in a way that puts a spotlight on you. So that's some of the miscellaneous things. Now, we only have a few minutes left, but I want to just tell you what it is that we think you should be doing around this. This is how you get out of trouble. And so what you want to do is to ask yourself, what tools am I missing? So as you put together all of these inventories, you might go like, the thing I do not have is I don't have the needs assessment system. I don't have that letter of engagement. I don't have a briefing on this or that. So the first thing you want to do is to make sure that the missing tools are satisfied. Before you do anything else I'm talking about on the list, you need to make sure the missing tools are covered. Because even if the other things are outdated, at least you've got something that can be used. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And so we want you to make acquiring the missing tools a priority. Now, once you've got all the tools, now we want to make sure that the tools have been brought up to date. So bringing them up to date is just making sure that what it says is correct. So for example, has your address changed? Has your phone number changed? Has your URL changed? These little things that just say they're outdated. Or you put a copyright on someone and the copyright says that it's copyrighted 2008. Maybe it's time to update that to 2014. And so you want to make sure things are brought up to date. Or you're using a different name for a service that you used before. You go like, well, I used to call it this and now I call it that. And so you want to make sure that you bring all those things up to date. Maybe it's really simple sort of stuff. Maybe it's stuff that you need to do that. And also, it also applies to hardware as well. So a little joke I put here says, maybe it's time to trade in that fax machine from 10 years ago for a nice, shiny all-in-one. So it's time for us to go like, is the equipment outdated as well? Next thing is about mismatching. Mismatching gets back to that whole design thing. So consistent fonts, logos, feel, texture, spacing, images, this is all enhancing your professional appearance. And so you want to make sure you got all the tools, that they're up to date, and that they look like they belong together. They look like a family. That, by the way, is supporting that consistent branding. So this is where we want to have the same images being used, the same logos being used, the same slogans. In fact, what I wrote here was, are your tools consistently communicating the same image, or do you have multiple versions of your logo and a bevy of seemed clever at the time slogans? So what are you really doing? What do you really want to put forth? Like, and we're guilty of it as well. Like, for example, for our Lifetime of Leads program, we've got 2 subtitles that we've used over the course of time. We've got the Accountable Self. The Accountable Self has always had 2 subtitles. One is Becoming a Finisher in a World of Starters, and the other one is Conquering the 80% Existence. These are both good little subtitles. They're both absolutely accurate as far as what the Accountable Self program does, but which one of those should we really be building our branding around? Now, it changed because there was a certain point in time when I was working with a client, and they just said, if our people would just finish something, it's like they've got all these things that are pending, all these things are in limbo, and so I'm not netting any gain out of any of it because nothing's getting completed. So I thought, ooh, let's make this the Accountable Self, becoming a finisher in a world of starters. And so, it had its place. Maybe I needed to have used that slogan just for that one client. But point is, from a consistent branding perspective, you need to be looking at that. When it comes to the inferior design element, you want to look at it and just go like, do these look like they were created by a professional? Or do they look like this is something that an amateur threw together with kind of like a how tough could this possibly be kind of a mindset? Right now, every single one of us have at our fingertips word processing software, PowerPoint presentations, all kinds of design software that didn't exist, maybe when we started the business a decade ago or longer ago for some of them. But it's interesting that we might have the tool, but that doesn't make us a designer. We don't necessarily have any sense about the use of white space or balance on a page or complementary colors or when you should be using a serif or a sans serif or some sort of special kind of a font. You might have the software. That doesn't mean you've got the training that allows you to use the software. And even if you've got the training to be able to use the mechanics of the software, that doesn't mean you've got a style-oriented mind or design-oriented mind. So now, and so this is what we want you to do with your materials. 2 questions you want to ask for everything you have. Number 1, is the idea itself good or bad? And the second question, is it well executed or poorly executed? So let me just give you guys a little glimpse into the combination. How many of you have ever noticed a really, really bad idea that was beautifully executed? So as far as the program, products, or service is concerned, there's nothing remarkable about it. It could be a piece of junk, but it got marketed really well. It had great design, wonderful brochures, great graphics, great copy that was written. So there are a lot of really bad ideas out there that because they were very well executed on the design and marketing side of things, they ended up being profitable. But how many of you right now believe that you've got a great product that is struggling in the marketplace? So whether that's a product as a service or not, don't worry about that. But you've got something really wonderful to offer the public, but it just isn't coming out. You might have a great idea, but it's been poorly executed. And so this is what you want to be thinking about. I got a great idea. What about the execution for the, the design, the deployment of this whole thing? So I would hate for you guys to have a bad idea that's badly executed. I want you to have a great idea that's also well executed. So that's part of it there. Next thing is about quality. Your printer, if you go to Staples, are you buying plain old copy paper that's 20 pounds that people can read both sides of it at once? One of the things we learned very early on was that the quality of paper we want to use cannot be purchased at Staples. You have to go to a printer supply company. And one that's a national chain is Xpedex, X-P-E-D-X. Xpedex has locations all over the country. This is where a serious offset printer would go to buy their paper. And what you really want is to buy paper that is opaque. That's the critical thing. So it's nice to get paper that's got a nice texture to it. Just be careful. You can't put highly textured paper into a laser printer because of the toner that gets deposited. It wants to be deposited on something flat, something hard. Otherwise, it can flake off or it can get absorbed in a weird kind of way. But that opacity, that's the most important thing, that for whatever reason, I cannot see through this piece of paper. And so, yeah, we pay a premium for that. And even in our workroom, we say, here's paper you can use for anything and everything. Here's the paper we use for workbooks and proposals and that sort of a thing. So you need some really good quality paper if you're going to be handing a prospect something worth looking at. And then the last one is kind of our bridge to next week. This is about tension management. So you guys could put together the most beautifully visually coordinated set of marketing materials and sales collateral and all that kind of stuff could just on the surface look so great. But sooner or later, someone's going to start reading. And when they start reading, the question is going to be, what happens to their level of tension? It will do you no good to have beautiful documents that destroy someone's tension flow. And so beginning next week, we'll be talking about poor tension management. In fact, that's our little slide we're going to end up with next week. Poor tension management skills. The real question is, how do I keep things moving forward? How do I keep things moving along?